So it's that time of year. My name is Alicia, if I haven't met you before, and I'm on the Yasodhara Ashram board. And this is the one time of a year that we have to have a formal meeting, and we have our flair with it, but we have some legal responsibilities. So the annual general meeting is the meeting of our three societies. We have the Yasodhara Ashram Society, which is the one you probably all know. We have the Friends of Radha Foundation, and that's the ring around the ashram. So it's the teachers and everyone who's outside who doesn't live here. And then there's the Association for the Development of Human Potential, which is a fabulous name, and that's the organization in the US. So the three societies come together and we review the past year, which is 2014, so it's a while ago, and we have to accept we hear the financial statements of all three organizations and we accept them, and then we do any voting that we need to do. So that's the official part of the AGM. And the fun part is that we get to hear some activity, well, the finances are obviously fun, but also we get to hear some highlights of activity from each of the three organizations. And at the end, we will have kind of a group discussion, and we'll get to that near the end. We'll all have a chance to think and reflect and speak with each other. So I'd like to start with the Yasodhara Ashram Society, and I'm just going to ask the Yasodhara Ashram Society board to stand, and then as we go through, I'll introduce them to you as they speak. So we have Swami Ananda, who is our president. Namaste. Swami Sivananda, who's our secretary. We have Rebecca J. Dale, who's our treasurer. And we have Paris Marshall Smith, who's our community director, and myself, vice president and host. Yeah. So you're going to hear this a few different ways today, but we had a very big year in 2014. We thought our big year would be 2013 because it was our 50th anniversary, and it was celebratory, and people came from all over to celebrate with us. And then in 2014, we had the courage and the ability to ask and receive Swami Lalitananda into the presidency so that Swami Radhananda could step back and step up into her next phase and stay as our spiritual director. So it was a big year for us because this only happens a few times. This only happened a few times in our history. And then we also had the fire, so of the temple. So those two things it was a big year. And they really define what happened through our year. And I'd like to just acknowledge and thank Swami Lalitananda for stepping into this position on our behalf, because it isn't an easy thing to do. And so thank you. And I wanted to thank you, yay. Let's have a yay. And specifically her willingness to learn and her love of the ashram, which shines through every single day. And it's really apparent, and it ignites all of us. And I'd also like to thank Swami Radhananda, because she continues to be our sounding board, and we can go to her for advice. And particularly, she's holding the lineage, and even in this next phase, she had held 8 initiations last year. So she is going strong in her role. So I think what we'll do is hear from Swami Radhananda would just like to thank us for being here.
I was going to say that. Now I have to say something else. It's really wonderful to see you all coming and being here and helping us to keep the ashram going. It really touches me. Thank you.
And I'd like to invite Swami Lalit Ananda. We're a different height, so you can have this if you'd like.
Thanks, Alicia. So to me, the ashram is vibrant and thriving and light-filled. And it's light-filled at the moment, and it's heading toward more light. That's how I see it. It's very much like spring, that if you try and capture it in a word or an image, you can only get one perspective, because there's so much happening and so many levels and a complexity, but that's all interdependent. So there's different layers of growing. One of the beautiful things that happens here every year is the YDC, and it's really nice to still see a few of the YDCers here. So that's like the essence of the ashram, is that depth of learning that happens when people are here on a 3-month retreat, learning, using the tools to deepen and expand their awareness of themselves and their place in the world and what they want to do with their lives. So the ashram is really a sacred holding ground, and that course has run for many, many years, since 1969, however many years that is, but it's pretty long, 46 years. And this year in that course we had people just in a range of ages. It touches me as well to see 18 and 19-year-olds coming into this course that's been running for 46 years and blossoming, and it's absolutely current. It's current because we are current where we are, and the teachings are simply tools to help us understand that. So everybody is part of it and can go as deeply as they can go. So the temple is a vision and a metaphor for us now. The temple existed for such a long time before it was even built. It existed in the unseen. And then last year in 2014, 11 months ago, when it was destroyed by fire, it was like shocking. And also, as we moved forward into the unknown of that shocking moment, it was a learning. It really is a learning. So how do we move forward from this place of nothing, when something has been there and serving such a wonderful purpose, to rebuilding and renewing and recreating? So that's what we've been in for the past year. And I feel like how we've done it is part of the message. So not knowing what to do and then just starting with the tools that we have. And using the light, using our community to come together, using the skills that people here have to manage and to listen to each other, to question and to try to understand. And to understand that we're not just a tiny community here at the ashram, that our community extends out across Canada and really around the world. And what was happening here was affecting people far away. So that interdependence is really, Rebecca talked last night, actually quoting Ananda, about the ripple effect and how one thing affects everything else. And so we're all involved in that, and I feel like we can all be involved in this new surge of activity that's coming forward, like that underlying power of spring, or like the underlying power of the ashram itself. Because the ashram is so pure in a way. It's this space that's in the world that's dedicated to people who want to learn more. And it needs a temple of light because we want a sacred space for people to gather in. It's like holding the sacred. The whole ashram is that, and it's active in a learning part, and then the temple is like the refuge and the attractor and the place that draws people in, the symbol. So for me, it's been, I said at one point shortly after the fire, it was initiation by fire. So I was really entering into a new situation. But there's so much support. And the support came from the people that have led the way up until now. So my guru, Swami Radha, who started the ashram, and I recognize now, like, this change is small compared to what she did, which was come from the West, go to the East, be there 6 months, and come back and start an ashram. And do it differently than her teacher in the East, than that tradition. Like, be able to really separate the essence from the culture and create something that was relevant for the time and that was accessible to people and that is so timeless that is still here in its essential form today. Those workshops that she started, Life Seal, Straight Walk, the YDC, flourishing. So there's something so strong and workable in them that they really are timeless and vibrational. And then Swami Radhananda opened the way. So whatever Swami Radha had created, Radhananda was equally courageous. And one of the things that she really focused on and started was the young adult program. She invited young people to come to the ashram. We invited the local community to come in. So there was this expansion and opening and invitation that has just built another layer over the last 20 years. So we have the layer, the essential layer, the purity, the wanting to be here to help people who are questing, giving people tools, and then continuing to open that up to more and more people until we are where we are today, where we have so many layers of people being at the ashram. We have the swamis who have made a lifetime commitment. We have teachers who have lived in the community, teaching at Yasodhara centers, coming back to live at the ashram and contribute here. And we have employees who want to be here, some of them because they too have this deep commitment to the teachings and the ashram, and others who have come to work here because they live locally and have a particular skill to offer. But they're not ordinary. None of these people are ordinary. They have a heartfelt connection to being in this place. And I think anyone who's here has that. And so what's happening and what's really flourished is the influx of karma yogis. So the ashram has always been run by karma yoga. That's that selfless service aspect. It's people coming to work on themselves through doing the work that's here. It's a really particular opportunity that might be hard to understand in the world today, where you try and get your value from your money, your position, your success. But to be able to work on yourself, to clear up your karma, to create clarity and understanding about what work could be, because we have to live our whole lives working one way or another, taking action. So to be able to have that awareness that you want to come to an ashram and work on yourself and understand work in a new way is wonderful and amazing. And this stream that has been there from the beginning of the ashram, when people came here and it was all just trees and a couple of little shacks. And now it is what it is today. And what it is today is complex, it's multi-layered, and it's requiring us all to think differently. It's requiring us to keep learning, to be new, and to accept new opportunities. So the temple itself is that symbol. It's like the symbol for a vision where we carry forward the essence, the dome-like shape, the beautiful light coming in. And it has a new shape. It has a new form, but the essence is there. And I feel like that's what the ashram has done its whole life, and it's what it will continue to do, because it has to be relevant in the world today and open up to the future in a way that holds that truth and that space, but allows change to happen. I remember a workshop I went to, a lecture actually it was called Challenge to Change. And it was a big event in Calgary back in the 1980s. And Swami Radha was a keynote speaker. And that was her address. It was called Challenge to Change. So for me personally, it has been a change. I mean, I've been at the ashram a long time, and yet to become the president of the ashram it's a step. And I thought of it as, like learning a new asana. okay, I've learned, I know how to do asanas, I know how to do this one, I know how to stretch my body, I know how to open, but here's a new one. Like, put these things together and see what that feels like. And then like, what's the symbolism? What do I hear back, and how do I listen? So it's been personally challenging and also very, very supportive. I especially thank Swami Radha. It's just so wonderful to have her, all her experience, her willingness to keep giving. And I also want to thank all the board people. Because as a board, we've come forward, we are sort of like management type people at the ashram, but when you become a board, it's like, well, what is a board? So everything is a question. How do we be an official board, and how do we lift out of the everyday to see the direction of the ashram? And then the swamis here and the people who have that lifetime commitment. I thought all the swamis should stand up as well. Because these are people who have been here, some of them 20 to 30 years, or connected with the work. And the interesting part right now is that all of the swamis are direct disciples of Swami Radha. So each of these people holds the teaching in the way that she gave it to them. So I always feel like right now is the golden age, could be the golden age of the ashram, because we have all these swamis who are the direct disciples. We have new people who are multi-skilled. Some of the people we have here are so talented. And then we have this influx of new people who want to receive what we have to offer and give back. So what could be better? We're going to build a great temple. Namaste.
So now we're going to shift gears a little bit into, we've heard the vision and from Swami Ananda of where we've been and where we want to go. And we'll give some highlights from our 2014 year, because despite the fact that we had a fire and we're going through all of this change at a deep level, we managed to do a lot. So I'll invite Paris to come up, and Paris is also our link to the geographical community, and she knows pretty much everything that's happening on the East Shore, and she keeps us informed, and so that our ability to keep not just the ashram but the whole East Shore as a thriving place.
One of the, as Swami Ananda spoke about, that we're seeing the temple and the whole process around the temple as a metaphor. And one of the ways that we're understanding at the moment is that we are in the design and planning and allowing it to emerge phase. And one of the key threads that we're trying to bring into our design aspect is resilience. So I thought I'd begin by using that as a frame to talk about last year, because we definitely demonstrated that as a community, as being a resilient community. Resilient design is any system, a building, a community, a project that collaboratively responds to its environment. It's about making best use of what we have, understanding that most importantly we are part of a system, part of a community, and so making use means both giving and receiving. Here we live that system physically, emotionally, spiritually, by learning to be nimble and adaptable to change. Last year we stood here and welcomed in the presidential shift. Swami Radhananda, as has been said, stepped back and stepped up. As she said, it's allowing the time to let go. And Swami Lalitananda stepped in, allowing form to shift. And for the last several years, we've been consciously reshaping the structures and the systems to allow us to do the work that we need to do. We've been exposing our foundation, the work that has been laid for us by all those that have gone before us, the levels of response, and making things more transparent. In this process of change, we've been gradually deconstructing what isn't serving us to allow for something else to happen. We knew the work was needed, and we weren't sure why. And then in the months following the fire, its purpose became clear. We were preparing to respond. The biggest highlight and our biggest victory from last year is how we prepared and how we responded, emotionally, physically, spiritually. And as we all know, in June of last year, we were challenged to respond to a level of change unimagined. We stayed open. We moved forward with Family Week. We held space for each other. We maintained the center through classes, workshops, teacher training, outreach. We looked at where we could let go in order to refocus our efforts to the deconstruction, rebalancing, planning, and designing that was needed. As Alicia said, it's always amazing how much we do. And with our focus clear on the temple, it's still amazing how much we did last year. And so here are some of the highlights. We are increasing, as Swami Lalit and Ananda said, we are increasing our long-term stays. People are coming to stay for more than 6 months, and people are coming back. Our residents, initiates, employees, people are wanting to be here. The internship was in year 2 last year, and we saw people returning for a second time to lead, a successful example of succession. Our lineage continues to be vibrant and strong, 8 initiations. We provided an extensive resource for teachers through the YYTC, a website for all the extensive efforts which you'll hear more about through FRF. We organized our organization, a continuous effort, through the incident team, the first aid team, learning about governance, how to manage and clarify our roles, and a finance plan, an effort through our new treasurer, Rebecca, and the FRF. We saw improvements in our buildings. The transitional temple, which was an incredible structure and a response from 2 people across the lake who generously came forward and built this beautiful building. Parvati was finished, and now it's home to Karen and Rob, who came to live here in the fall. There are other upgrades in terms of Krishna Kutir, the barn, and Saraswati. We installed 2 generators, increasing our short-term resilience for up to 24 hours. And we've just added in a new one, so we're now up to plus 36 hours, which is a big achievement, meaning that we can have 36 hours of sustained support if there's a power outage. Which there was, yeah. Yes. Yes. Food system strengthening, it's been an ongoing effort for many, many years, and we continue to build on our efforts and increase our effectiveness through relationship, through intensive planting, through learning of how to best make use of our resources. In other ways, what may seem small, but is, again, that principle of making use of what we have and making best use of our resources. Mattresses, drapes, and overall preparedness improved. Through our community outreach is expanding through our work with different boards, committees, ongoing efforts to support the local community. And now we have a new initiative as well with event rentals and groups, inviting in different groups to come and share this space with us. We are in constant change, and in response, we are continually refining our budgeting and planning processes, making transparent our systems to support successful transitions and successions. So stay tuned. We have a temple to build and lots of vibrancy to continue to maintain and grow. Namaste.
So that in the back, where there's a circle map there, that's kind of the simplest rendition of how the ashram works. And we went over this last year, but this is basically, we've got areas, and they include a whole swath of things. But we have areas like teaching, PIC, which is production, information, and communication. We have a food flow area, the Welcome Center, which is the bookstore and internal services and registrations and welcoming. We have an administration that's ongoing at all different levels. And we have land and infrastructure, which holds a ton of things. Water, sewage, R&M, stewardship of the land, renewables. It's just incredible. So we also have a publishing company called Timeless Books. And we have several different websites for teachers and for our own site. So that gives you a sense of kind of pulling back the curtain, and if you're wondering how does it kind of work, that will give you a sense of it. So some of those highlights arise from those areas, and it takes all of us to make that happen. So we're going to switch gears, and this is another way of looking at what happened in the year is through the money. And so Rebecca took on the treasurership last year in September, and thank you. There was a handoff. So I particularly know how much work she's done and how much it takes. And it's an interesting place to be because there are real dollars and cents that go with this spiritual community. And it's good to be in touch with them. So here we go.
So last year, 20% of our guests were taking course, and 80% were here as karma yogis. So that's everybody who's not taking a course. And if we look at that trend, you can see that it is very steadily declining. So we're having a much smaller percentage of people here as guests, which are the people who take courses and pay. So that's information you can sort of store in your mind. Other people do pay, but differently. So increase in time spent at the ashram. So there's a higher number of actual people days. People are staying for longer. Fewer people coming, but staying for longer. Fewer course guests, and larger numbers of karma yogis. So we have a little moment to think about that with Tara.
So I'd like to invite Bhakti. She is the president of the Friends of Radha Foundation, and you took this on last year.
Yes.
And we are so grateful.
And so then I was vice president, and so they invited me to be president. So I'm very pleased to be here, and we did a great job, I think, all the board, and with the assistance of Swami Sivananda. Swami Sivananda has been shepherding FRF, Friends of Radha Foundation, for 27 years. So that was, yeah, I've counted, yes. And she's still by our side every step of the way. She comes to all our meetings and gives us advice that's very helpful, and also listens, so that's great. So for some of you, you may not know who Friends of Radha Foundation, who we are. We're kind of invisible, but every teacher you see is a concrete, representative of Friends of Radha Foundation. So all the teachers here, could you stand up? Okay. And if we could have all the teachers in Canada, we have more teachers. Oh, yeah, for sure. So you are Friends of Radha Foundation. Yay. You may not have known that, but that's why we're trying to improve that. So Swami Radha established the Friends of Radha Foundation in 1989 to support the teachings and the teachers outside the ashram. She said that the Friends of Radha Foundation was one of the 3 pillars of the work, and the 3 pillars are the ashram, Friends of Radha Foundation, and ADHP in the US. So last year, like I said, was a transition year, Swami Litananda shifting from FRF to being president of the ashram, which is a huge role. And but that being said, 2014 was very productive. And I'll get into a little bit of detail. We researched investment strategies, which was a new experience for many of us, and many of us found it very interesting and to learn something new. So that's one of the opportunities that everyone has here who's involved in the work, is learning all the time. So if you like learning, this is the place to be. So we researched investment strategies. We developed an investment policy. We sold the Ottawa house. We met with a charity lawyer. We renewed our reviewed reliability issues. We developed a waiver. Dan and the team also completed the Yoga Teacher Network website and the Yasodhara Yoga Teacher website. And that was all done at the ashram. So it's almost invisible. FRF and the ashram, we're all like sisters, twins, actually, almost. Our board, we all worked really well together. So, and since I live on the coast and most of the people that I mentioned are at the ashram, I still felt very, very involved and connected. And we used technology to have all our meetings, so it was like a Skype-like meeting. And it makes me feel more involved being, volunteering on the board. So it's a way that you can be involved too. And one of the board members will be stepping down. And we want to thank Marlene Rosa. Do you want to stand up, Marlene? So Marlene has done outstanding work on our board. She's contributed her expertise as a longtime teacher and lawyer. And Marlene has said she's going to continue to offer her expertise even though she won't be on the board. So thank you, Marlene. It's been excellent. So over the next year, we plan to continue to support the teachers and streamline the business of the Yasodhara Yoga Centers, as well as we're going to continue to be caretakers of the funds that Swami Radha carefully invested in the centers across Canada. So we are going to be stewards of those funds to help all the teachers across Canada and to support the ashram's work. And we also, we have, I can't hold it back. We're going to invite Parma to the board, and I've already met with her just to give her some orientation. And wow, how long have you been a teacher?
Since 1989.
Wow. So since the same 27 years. Parma has a wealth of experience to contribute to the FRF board and understands how it is to work and live in the world. So thank you.
I'll introduce. This is Swami Yasodhara. She's the president of the Association for the Development of Human Potential.
And it's Swami Radha started this nonprofit organization in 1970 as an opportunity for Americans to be more involved with her teachings. There were many at the time who were very touched with what she was doing. And so what we have now is a center in Spokane, Washington. And I just wanted to mention 3 highlights, and Swami Ananda will be saying something about one of those highlights. That last year, we changed our name from Radha Yoga Center to Yasodhara Yoga Spokane. So it was to make a connection, more of a visible connection with the ashram. We've already had some people in this past year who've called and said, "Oh, you're part of the ashram. We didn't know that," and they were really excited to know what the connection was. And another highlight was that we started out with a house, somewhat large house, in 1989, and there's been a lot of change happening in Spokane, and so we moved to another property where everything has been consolidated. We have a studio, we have a Timeless Books depot. Timeless in the US is the distributor around the world, except for Canada, for all of the publications. And so we have that, and it's all in one area. And then there's also an apartment house where Janet Brown and I live. And so it gives us more space to do what we did in Radha House, like inviting guests to come for stay, especially ashram people. But anybody is welcome to come down and check out our center. And so the Radha House was put up for sale last year because of the consolidation. It's still on the market. And then another exciting event that happened last year was that we celebrated our 25 years. We've been operating in Spokane for 25 years, so we had some celebrations.
Whew, okay, so concludes the official portion of the AGM. Yay! Yay! So we have about 40 minutes before 12 o'clock, I think. Yep. And we wanted to use that time to have a conversation. I don't know who's taken my piece of paper, though. So one of the things that we've been talking about in light of the temple and turning what was a tragedy into an opportunity, we've been reflecting as a community and as a board and at all these different levels on what the opportunity is inviting us into, and why would we even rebuild a temple? I mean, we didn't spend a lot of time thinking we wouldn't, But it's always good to ask ourselves, because it's a big campaign. So it shows underneath that we feel that there's a vibrancy and a need for these teachings in the world, and that we want to put the time and effort into creating that call and being able to receive people. So we've been talking about how the teachings relate to preparing us for and helping us change the world that we want to live in. Because as each of us gets more in touch with ourselves, we make different choices, and those choices ripple out for others to see and give them the courage to make different choices. And we're very concerned with the world that we live in and where we're headed, environmentally and emotionally and spiritually. And so the Temple of Divine Light is open to the light and the path in all religions, and it's an invitation into those, into each of the light in each of us, but also to become a bridge between what often separates us, either religiously or in our minds or our cultures. So we thought we would take some time to reflect on what we're receiving through the teachings and how we think that they will create a world that we want to be living in, or how they currently are, how they impact the world. Because sometimes when we're here, it can feel like it's our own little world, but the work that we do here, inner and as a community, impacts what's happening. And we are a lighthouse. We see ourselves as a lighthouse, and we're building a really nice, new, big lighthouse. And so the invitation is to reflect on that and discuss how these teachings are relevant today and how they can make a change inside and out. Rebecca will start us in chanting. Om Tara Tutare Tu Re Soha. Om Tara Tutare.